I'm going to start off by paraphrasing one of my bishops that I had after my mission, Bishop Snow. He said, paraphrasing, Jason, all of us are hypocrites to a certain degree. It's just a matter of trying our best or something like that to get it right. So basically we have our ideal that we consider perfect, and then what we actually live up to. And unless you're the Savior, you don't live up to it most likely. Oh, you're pretty much guaranteed. No, that's doctrine right there. Anyhow, Thomas Jefferson wasn't a hypocrite. A lot of people try to say he was a hypocrite, so I'm going to address things one at a time real quick here. Number one, I want to address the Louisiana Purchase, actually. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 gives the United States, the federal government, the power to have forts and ports and different kinds of military plots of land, right, that they use for the sake of protecting the people. And so Thomas Jefferson, when he became the president, said, hey, so the obvious, now, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18 then says, and they shall have all powers which are necessary and proper to the carrying out of the foregoing powers, right? So if it's truly necessary and proper, they have that power. Well, one of the obvious things is if they're going to have land that they're controlling for forts and ports, they have to purchase the land. So the United States set out under Thomas Jefferson to acquire some land in New Orleans for a port, and then some land in Florida. And they were willing to spend, the approved budget was $10 million, or the goal budget was $10 million. Because those would be fantastic defensive points. The French owned it, and they wanted to get it. Well, they have the necessary and proper clause. So if they need to spend that $10 million, that's necessary and proper for getting those two ports. Well, Napoleon was desperate for more money and to just get that off his back. And so he said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you all of the Louisiana territory for $15 million. Now, that wasn't the original goal. However, here's another problem, is would Napoleon have even sold them what they originally set out to get if they weren't willing to just buy all of it for an additional $5 million, for an additional 50% on their offering price, right? That's a necessary and proper power right there. That is literally, it was a necessary thing in order to acquire that land that they could tell would be excellent defensive land for the United States to own for ports. And so they made the whole Louisiana Purchase. It was necessary and proper. It was, therefore, the power was in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Napoleon wasn't willing to sell only those ports. He wanted to sell all of it. Necessary and proper. Done deal. Not a violation of the Constitution at all. To call it a violation of the Constitution is just silly. Okay, number two, the Embargo Act. The Embargo Act is a power that the federal government has to regulate interstate commerce and commerce with foreign nations. There was a war going on. There was a lot of conflicts with ships at sea, right? Now, I'm not an expert on this whole story right here, but I'm going to give the quick rundown. So Thomas Jefferson basically said, hey, we're tired of our sailors getting captured at sea. We're tired of conflict happening. We don't want to get in a war with France. We don't want to get in a war with England. And so he said to merchants, no more crossing the seas to sell your merchandise. You're going to have to do everything locally in the United States. And a lot of people say that was unconstitutional. However, it's Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 gives them the power to regulate interstate commerce and international commerce. And that's exactly what he did. In that case, they wanted nothing to do with war. And so they regulated it. Not unconstitutional. And then the next one, slaves. Thomas Jefferson owned slaves. Now look though, Article 1, Section 8, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1 says that they were not allowed to prohibit the importation of slaves or the migration of slaves until 1808. And so Jefferson was the president in 1808. As soon as he had the chance, he blocked further importation of slaves from abroad into the United States. It was something he wanted to put down as one of the grievances in the Declaration of Independence, but that didn't get accepted from his first draft, and so he had to take it out because, the Declaration of Independence represented all 13 colonies. Now, Jefferson inherited his estate but he also leveraged his estate in order to take out loans for business purposes. But then he ended up spending the majority of his life in public service, which public service didn't give killer retirement benefits and health insurance and all that kind of stuff back then. So he actually went broke doing public service for all of us who are benefiting from it years later. And the problem is slaves and everything like that under Virginia law back then were considered part of your intact estate or part of the collateral used to get you that loan. And unless you had paid off that loan, you could not legally free your slaves. You had to hold on to them. You had to keep the estate intact. And Jefferson, I mean, he wasn't making squat as a public servant. And that's what he did most of his life once the revolution started. And so his life changed. He never made enough money to recuperate the cost of the loans, and never was able to, according to Virginia law, actually free his slaves. So, no, you can't call him a hypocrite on that one either. He did everything he could to stop slavery, everything he could legally do to stop slavery. The only thing he could have done that would have been made it more possible is for him to have never become the public servant that he became, but then we wouldn't be the nation that we are right now anyhow. So I'm not buying that one either. Thomas Jefferson is not a hypocrite. He's probably less a hypocrite than the rest of us are. He pretty much lived up to his ideals that he professed and encouraged them out of everybody. He felt very nervous about the Louisiana Purchase. He's like, am I violating the Constitution? I'm not sure. James Madison had to kind of explain it to him. Look, it's necessary and proper. You have the power to purchase land. And if you have the power to control land for forts, and so therefore you have the power to purchase it, and if Napoleon isn't going to sell it to you unless you buy the whole thing, then yes, that's necessary and proper to getting those 2 forts we want. It was a measly increase, and they got like hundreds of times as much land for that 50% increase in their offering price. So I'm not buying it that Jefferson's a hypocrite. He is the greatest, as far as I'm concerned, of the American founders. He taught us everything we needed to know. You could say Washington's greatest because he refused to be king. Great, that's fine too. I just think without somebody actually receiving those clear impressions about the laws of nature and nature's God, we would not be who we are. And that was Jefferson that had the clearest impressions about all that. So no, he's not a hypocrite. Thanks for watching, guys.